Hey BookTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I am talking about meal planning. Now, I know this is not a bookish video at all, and so if you are not interested in this, you can just click away and wait for my future content, because all my future content will be bookish and everything. But I am about 7 months pregnant now, and so we're getting to the point where we're starting to deep clean our house and starting to plan my meal planning and everything for after the baby's born. And so I've been watching a lot of videos and reading a lot of blog posts about meal planning and different things, and it just made me want to make my own video and just share what I do for meal planning with my baby. So if you're interested, you can watch it, and if not, that's totally fine. This is just kind of one for me. The first thing that I did when I was deciding for meal planning was I wrote down all of the things that I want to have meal planned. And I've had 2 babies before. With Ashton, I didn't really meal plan anything. I didn't really know about freezer meals and everything. I did have people bring me meals, but I didn't plan food for afterwards. And I wish that I had, because it would have made life a lot easier. After we had my second, Parker, we did do a lot of freezer meals because I was totally into freezer meals, and I'd found a bunch of recipes that I liked. The one thing with Parker was that I kind of overdid it a little bit, especially with carbs and flour and different things, because while I'm pregnant I am on a pretty strict diet where I don't eat flour or sugar for a whole bunch of different reasons, health reasons basically, and to make my labor easier and everything. So I was really craving a lot of, especially flour, meals with flour, things like chicken nuggets and lasagna and things that I just can't have when I'm pregnant. And so I went way overboard, and we got so sick of the food that I had meal prepped. We wanted things like steak or just chicken on a salad or something. And so this time around I am being a little more mindful of that. Even though all I want to eat right now is flour because I can't eat it, I am trying to plan other meals that I know that, so we don't get sick of the meals that I plan. So what I did is I made a few different lists on my list app. I used Quip. I really like Quip because I can organize all my lists the way that I want to, and I'm definitely a list organizing type person. So first I went through and I decided what meals I wanted to plan. So for me, I wanted meals that would freeze well, but that I also really enjoyed, because a lot of freezer meals are things like casseroles and soups, and I am not a huge casserole or soup person, especially from the freezer. But there are also a lot of things that don't freeze well, like white sauces and pastas and things like that don't freeze as well. And so I went through and I just came up with some different, using Pinterest and my own recipes and just past experience. I went through and I found recipes that I really like that also freeze well. So for dinners, I'm going to have a lasagna, and what I do with lasagna is I just make the recipe and put it together, but I don't actually bake it. I just put it in the freezer unbaked, because I found that if I bake it and then freeze it and then bake it again, it dries it out a lot. And I also actually add a little bit of extra tomato sauce to any lasagna or spaghetti, because I find that when you reheat it after freezing it, it tends to be a little more dry. So I'm going to have one lasagna, then I'm going to do a whole bunch of different batches of spaghetti sauce, and I just freeze the spaghetti sauce in gallon-sized freezer bags and lay them flat, so then they're just flat freezer bags of spaghetti sauce. And one of the batches I'm going to do just meat in it, because that's my husband's favorite, is just ground meat in the spaghetti sauce. And then one of the batches I'm going to do, the other 2 batches I'll just do spaghetti sauce, and with the spaghetti sauce we have a turkey meatball, ground turkey meatball recipe that we really like. It's the 21-day fix turkey meatball recipe that I got off of Pinterest, and I really like the flavor of those. And so I'll freeze those also in a gallon-sized freezer bag laid flat, and freeze that with the spaghetti sauce. And then the other thing I'm going to do is a chicken parmesan, and I'll just brown up the chicken and then put that in the freezer with the spaghetti sauce separately again. And then for the noodles, I'll just have noodles around to cook, because cooking noodles is really easy. But we're also actually going to have some spaghetti squash just around, because spaghetti squash stays good for like forever, and it's also really easy to cook. We just cut it in half, lay it flat, and put it in the oven with some oil on it, and cook it till it's soft. And we really, really like spaghetti with spaghetti squash rather than noodles, and that will help us to have kind of a lower carb option available for if we don't want to eat a whole bunch of carbs right after the baby. I'm also going to do a chicken bacon broccoli pasta sauce, and so I'll cook the chicken and the sauce, and I'll put that all together in a bag, but then I'll keep the broccoli separate, just frozen broccoli in the freezer, and the noodles separate, and hope that the white sauce turns out. I have a white sauce recipe that's supposed to work well in the freezer, but I've never tried it before, so we'll see. I'm also going to put marinated chicken in the freezer. We have a really good marinade recipe that uses honey instead of sugar in it, and we love the flavor of the marinade. You can just cut up the chicken, put it in a bag, like a freezer bag with the marinade, and just as it thaws out, it actually marinates the chicken, and then we can use our grill outside and my husband can grill the chicken if we ever want that for an option. I'm also going to do lemon chicken, where I do something similar where I just do like a lemon marinade and put the chicken in there as well, and we can again grill it when we want some, like just meat and vegetables or something, or the lemon chicken would be really good on a salad, and it would be really easy too. I'm also going to do bacon wrapped chicken. I just take my chicken and cut it into basically chicken tender type pieces, and then I wrap the bacon around it and use toothpicks to hold the bacon on, and then I just put that frozen in the freezer. I usually freeze them on a cookie sheet first, and then I put them in like a freezer bag or in a pan, like one of the tin pans, and then all you have to do is bake it in the oven for the right amount of time, and that's really yummy. My husband doesn't love it as much because the bacon doesn't get as crisp, but I really like it. I'm also going to do sweet and sour chicken. And the sweet and sour chicken, all you do, you bread the chicken in the cornstarch, and you freeze that in a pan already, like in the right size pan. We just buy the disposable pans from Walmart because they're super cheap there. And then you mix up the sauce, and you actually freeze the sauce in a bag, in like a freezer bag, separate from the chicken so the chicken doesn't get soggy. And you just freeze that all together. And then when it's time to bake it, you pull it out the night before so it can thaw, and then right before you bake it, you pour all the sauce on and bake it just like you normally would. And we'll have cauliflower rice in the freezer to go along with that to make it super easy, because we actually like cauliflower rice more than rice right now. And a lot of these things we found when we were eating low carb, we do try and eat a little more low carb and healthier, and so that's what we do. I'm also just going to freeze some chicken legs in a pan and then just put seasoned salt on it. And then I'll just put it in one of those, a 9x11 disposable pan, and then we can just pop it right in the oven and cook it. And that's one of our favorite meats to have, is chicken legs with seasoned salt on it. I'm also going to make some hamburger patties. We actually use elk burger because my father-in-law always goes hunting every year, and he always catches an elk, and so they always give us elk meat, which is really nice of them. So we eat elk meat and ground turkey. And so I'll just use the elk meat and make some hamburger patties, and then I'm also going to make some hamburger buns. We have a really yummy homemade bun recipe, so I'll make some of those and put those in the freezer together. And then I do want to make some breads to have around because I'll be wanting them. And we have a really yummy dinner roll recipe that I'm going to make maybe 1 or 2 batches, and these are really yummy frozen. It's really easy to just let them thaw on the counter and then just warm them up in the oven for a couple minutes, and then it's like they're just straight out of the oven. You can't tell they've been frozen, and they're so yummy. I'm so excited. I'll also have just some frozen green beans and frozen broccoli and canned green beans around for afterwards for some easy vegetables in case we don't want to like cut up produce or anything like that. So those are the dinners I'm going to be doing. For lunches, I'm going to do a whole bunch of chicken nuggets because that's our favorite meal. We have a Chick-fil-A chicken nugget recipe that I'm really excited to be doing, and then I'll make a whole bunch of honey mustard to have in the fridge as well because we have a really yummy honey mustard recipe to go with them, and they warm up really well from frozen. I also have a chicken taquito recipe that I really like. I do homemade tortillas with it, and it's super yummy, so I'm going to do some of those. And then with the tortilla recipe, I also make what we call tortitas, which are like little mini pizzas on tortillas, and they're really yummy, especially from frozen, so I'm going to do some of those. I have a Hot Pockets recipe that I'm going to do 1 batch of. They're not our absolute favorites, I'll probably do them a little bit smaller, and I'll do some cheese and some pepperoni because my 2 girls will only eat cheese pizzas. They don't like pepperoni or anything else on the pizza, so I'll do some cheese just for them, and I'll probably only do 1 batch of those. And then I also like to do chicken and cheese quesadillas with my homemade tortillas because those freeze really well and warm up in the microwave really well. And then I'll do some breakfast things. We love to make tons of waffles and then warm them up in the microwave like like Eggos basically, but they're homemade and they're really, really yummy. I'll also make some muffins and rolls and bread to have just in the freezer. And I'll also have sausage and bacon in the freezer, and we'll just have eggs around because eggs are really easy to make anyways. And then for desserts, I have a homemade ice cream sandwich recipe that I like to make that's slightly healthier. We like to use maple syrup and honey to sweeten our treats, and so we have a ice cream recipe that uses maple syrup, pure maple syrup, and then we have a graham cracker recipe that uses honey. And so I like to make the graham crackers or chocolate graham crackers, and then make the ice cream, and then put the ice cream in between the graham crackers, and then wrap them up in saran wrap and then freeze them, and they're really good ice cream sandwiches and they're really easy to just grab and eat. I'm also going to we have a white chocolate chip cookie recipe that is like my absolute favorite, so I'm going to make those, and so those will be kind of my 2 treats to have around, besides some of the organic candy that I can't have right now too, that I'm going to buy from vitacost.com. So I went through and I decided what to do. So the lunches I basically already knew because they're the same lunches that I used to do with Parker, and they're just really easy to reheat things. And then the meals, I had like a set number that I was going for. I basically wanted 4 weeks of meals, and with leftovers and everything, that's basically what I'll get, is 4 weeks of meals. So we can have basically all of August. If the baby does come at the beginning of August, we can have all of August to just kind of not worry about food except for reheating. Then I made a separate document for kind of my freezer meal plan, and what I did is I went through and I figured out what ingredients I needed for each of the meals. And so now I have a list, like I know I need 10 packages of chicken breasts and two things of turkey burger, and I went through and I figured out how much of everything I need so that I have all the ingredients for my freezer meals, so I can go shopping all in one big shopping trip and buy it all, and I know how much it costs too, so I could take that from our August budget and put it into this month's budget, so that when I go shopping, then we have the money there in our account. Then I actually went through and I made a list. I don't know if you can see here. I don't know how hard it is to see the computer on the camera, but I went through and for the hamburger, I put what meal I have for the hamburger and what meal I have for the chicken and everything. So when I am making the hamburger, I can be like, oh, I actually need ground hamburger for all of these different recipes, so I'll just do it all at once instead of grounding hamburger, doing a recipe like one at a time. And that way I can kind of batch cook and it'll go faster. Then I sat down and I looked at our calendar, my timeline and everything of when I want to have it all done before the baby comes. And I just went and I said, okay, well, on this Monday, I'm going to go grocery shopping and pull out our elk burger to thaw. And then on this day, I'm going to do this. Like the next day, I'm going to cut up all the chicken, and I'm going to do the lemon chicken and the marinated chicken and freeze all of the meats that are really easy to freeze, and wrap the bacon around the chicken and put together the meatballs, all of those kinds of things. Then the next day I'm going to do the lasagna and the spaghetti, and I kind of tried to put things together, like group things together that needed the same kinds of meats and sauces and different things like that. But I also tried to keep it separate enough that I don't get way worn out, because I do have 2 kids still and I have other things that I'm trying to do, like booktube, and we still have to eat besides the freezer meals, and I also will, that week I'll kind of plan my meal plan for the week around that. Like the day that I'm making spaghetti, I'll just probably make an extra batch of spaghetti, and we'll have spaghetti on spaghetti squash for dinner that night because it will already be made, so it'll be super easy. I know that because I'm pregnant, I just get worn out so much easier right now, and so it's hard for me to do a lot in one day. So when I have big projects like this, I try and break them up so that I don't get way worn out and burn myself out with it. The other thing I did when I was planning my calendar is I did the meat first, because the meat, you want to get the meat in the freezer as soon as possible after buying it, so it's as fresh as possible when you eat it. And the other thing is I want dinners to be done basically first, and then lunches, and then I can do like the treats and the breads and stuff, because the dinners and the meals are going to be the most important, so that if I did go into labor early, like at 37 weeks instead of 40 weeks, I'm not like, oh no, I have a whole bunch of bread and cookies in the freezer, but we don't have anything to eat for dinner because I did that last or something. So I did try and plan it accordingly. And I also tried to do the treats last, and buying treats, I'm trying to save that until the very end of the pregnancy, because with my second, I was also on this more strict diet where I wasn't eating flour and sugar, But I was really excited to eat flour and sugar, so when I went to the store like 2 or 3 months before the baby came, I bought a whole bunch of stuff to save for after the baby came, but it was too tempting for me to have all of that in the house, and I ended up eating a lot of it and then feeling really bad because I didn't want to do that. So yeah, that's kind of my plan for meal planning. I know it wasn't a bookish video, but I hope you still got something out of it. And yeah, are you pregnant or really into meal planning? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one.